in and see how the rabbi's doing today. Rabbi Goldberg, you're live on the air, sir.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Good to see you all. Good evening from Israel, from Jerusalem. Hope everything is okay with everybody in the world. We have here people from all over the places. And good to see you all. We have a long things tonight. Unfortunately, at 9 o'clock, I need to go out from this Zoom room because we're doing a pledge for people from other places in the world, I think this time it's from South America or something like that, Argentina. I'm not sure where exactly. The team told me where. So I need to go out at 9 o'clock and we need to close this class at 9:25. Fair enough. But till then, we have a lot of time to learn and a lot of things to learn. And we came already to the stage of Abraham. And we're starting to speak about him. We started last week and we want to continue on. And I said that the beginning, the opening of Abraham is something that we need to learn from the oral Bible, because our Bible is not really saying to us almost anything. So let's look for a moment. Inside. Dana, we also on the YouTube.
Yes, sir. We're on a couple of YouTube. We're on YouTube channels and we're on Facebook as well. A couple of Facebook channels.
Fine. Excellent. So I want to start with to show something very unique about Abraham, and then we will go back and we will say a few words about Abraham from the oral Bible. And it's very important to realize what's happening here. Let's start with with chapter 12, and let's read for a moment the first few verses of chapter 12. Please read verses 1 to 4.
1, and the Lord said to Abram, go forth from your land. The birthplace. You got cut off there. Yeah. From your birthplace and from your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will aggrandize your name, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you. And Abraham went as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran.
If we will compare those verses to the verses about Noah, we remember, all of us, that Noah we are being declared that Noah was righteoushood in front of God. And this is maybe the reason why God wanted to save him from the flood and to continue the generations from Noah. But it's written down very loud and very clear that Noah was righteoushood. So if I will compare those things here with Abraham, we're not saying anything about him. And he's getting the most important blessings in the world. Nothing. God is saying to him, I'm going to be with you. You're going to be blessed. Everybody who's going to curse you, to do something bad to you, is going to get punished. And you're going to be the main nation in this world. And we know nothing about Abraham. We never heard about him. Or we saw a few verses ago. I will show this in a moment. We spoke about Abraham as part of the family that came from Aber. But we know nothing about him. And if we will ask ourselves, it's really amazing to think that God is prizing someone where we don't have anything in the scripture that is explaining to us who was this Abraham that was 75 years old already, that God said that he is the main, I will say, root, the main stone that is going to lead this world to the great vision that God wants to bring to this world. We'll go a bit backwards to the previous chapter and to see, again, it's not written down inside, but we have few things that we are going to give from the eyes of the oral Bible that we have, and it's a bit similar to what we have with Moses. So let's go inside a bit, and we will see. First of all, let's speak about. Let's see for a moment who is the father of Abraham. So it's we're speaking here. Please read verse 25 and 26.
25. And Nahor lived after he had begotten Terah 119 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years, and he begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran.
Okay, so we have the father. His father is called Terach. Now, the word Terach in Hebrew, in English, it doesn't have any meaning, right? I'm right, nothing. I don't know how to explain this word. In Hebrew, the word is reminding us the word boiling. When I want to boil the water, okay, and it's very hot and it's boiling, it's good taking out the steams and all of those things, we're saying the word terach, lehartiach. So what exactly Terach did, this father of Abraham? He was a person who reorganized a lot of idolatries. He did it for Nimrod, and he did a lot of statues, and most of the statues were also with the face of Nimrod, and they put it in a lot of towns, and everybody was supposed to obey to these statues. He was one of the people that, even though he came from a very unique family, the Aber family, where we had the prophecy, he knew his God, and he boiled the world and the people against God. And God was boiled against Terach. This is the first thing that we know about the father of Abraham. Before, I want to speak a bit about the beginning of Abraham, but before that, I want to say that when Abraham was already old a bit, I'm speaking about 12, 15 years old, Terach was supposed to go to somewhere, and he gave Abraham, this is again one of the stories that is in the oral Bible that we have. So the Terach gave his son Abraham to watch, to keep an eye on the store of all of the idolatries. And there were there a lot of idolatries. Some were small, some were big, all sorts of idolatries there, all sorts of statues and those things. And people came and brought those statues, food to eat, a bit of coins and those things. And when people tried to buy one of those statues, Abraham asked them, "Why do you want to buy this?" And they said, "Because we want to give a prize to this idolatry. We want to admire this idolatry." So Abraham said, "You see, you are a 70 years old, 60 years old, 100 years old person, and you are obeying this idolatry." So people got really upset and went out. And after some old woman came and gave a bit of food, so Abraham broke all the idolatries, and he put a stick on the most biggest idolatry there, most biggest puppet there, or something like that. And when his father came back, he said to him, "How come everything is broken here in this store?" So Abraham told him, a lady gave food here to those idolatries, and they started to fight one with each other. And the biggest one, he was the most strong one, and he managed to break down all of the idolatries here. So his father told him, "You're speaking nonsense, all of them are doing nothing." So Abraham said to him, "You see, you yourself, you understand exactly the situation. This is all nonsense." So this is where Terach wanted to pass Abraham to Nimrod, the kingdom, and therefore Abraham ran away. Now, there is a beginning for this story. In the beginning of the story, he's saying something very similar to what we know about Moses. And the day or few days or few months maybe before Abraham was born, the astrologist people of Nimrod told him that there's a child that is going to get born in the family of Terach, and this child is going to be against the king Nimrod. So Nimrod said something very unique, that we see this again on Moses' time. Nimrod said, all of the boys that are going to get born in those days, we need to kill, and the girls are going to live. It's very similarity to what we know in Exodus, chapter number 1, okay? And please read verses 15 and 16.
15. Now the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, one who was named Shiphrah, and the second who was named Puah. And he said, when you deliver the Hebrew women, and you see on the birth stool, if it is a son, you shall put him to death, but if it is a daughter, she may live.
So we see it's written down very clear in Moses' time that this is what happened, because the king there, Pharaoh, the king, was chasing against someone that is going to be here, to come to this world, but is going to be against Pharaoh. As we know that Moses was against Pharaoh. And this is where they're saying the girls can live, but the boys, they all need to die. And the same thing we're saying about the Abraham, what happened in our oral tradition. Again, this is in the oral tradition. And the next thing that we know, that in the next chapter, chapter number 2 in Exodus, we know, please read the first 3 verses, it's enough.
1. A man of the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw him that he was good, she hid him for 3 months. When she could no longer hide him, she took for him a reed basket, smeared it with clay and pitch, placed the child into it, and put it into the marsh at the Nile's edge.
So again, in our tradition here, we have also a lot of inside stories about what really happened there between this man and this woman, okay, about Levi family and all of this. But never mind the oral stories here. The main thing is that when he was born, Moses, and we know that we have some sort of a law of the Egyptians that all the sons are going to die and only the woman is going to stay alive. The same thing happened with the Abraham age, where all the sons were supposed to die and only the woman was supposed to stay alive. After 3 months, you can't anymore hide those people, okay? You can't do all sorts of fakes. People starting to ask, okay, she was pregnant. What happened with her stomach? What happened with her kids, or with the thing that inside the pregnancy? It was a son, it was a woman. And the same thing happened with Abraham, where people started to speak. And now with Abraham, we're speaking in the oral tradition. We have a very unique story. And it's we have 3 verses of this story about the age that Abraham went out. But the main story is that Abraham was being kept over in some sort of a cage, okay, in the mountains. Who exactly fed him? Who exactly was with him? We don't really know. Or it's not being said over. Who gave him? Some of the oral traditions are speaking about that his mother came from time to time to give him food. Other traditions are speaking about other things. I don't think this is not really matter. The main thing that is matter is that we have 3 different explanations. What was the time that he went out from this cage? And the same thing is being explained in all 3 times that I'm going to mention now. When he went out from the cage, when he went out from this cave, he acknowledged the connection with God. So In a moment, I will explain this. First of all, I want to say one tradition is speaking about the age of 3. The other one is speaking about the age of 13. And the third one is speaking about the age of 40. Okay? Now, those are mainly 3 main times that every person is starting to acknowledge a new step in his life. And the age of 3, it's the time that I'm starting to realize more and more, each person in this world, that there is the world and there is also me. While the world is not really feeling anything, okay, the outside world, I'm not speaking about people that is probably like me, can feel a lot of things for themselves, but the world is not feeling anything, okay? Until the age of 3, when someone is getting smacked on the floor, so we're going and we're smacking the floor and we're saying, no, this floor, why are you doing so bad things? And for the kids, it's enough. But from the age 3, you can't do that because they realize, people are realizing in the age of 3 that there is a difference between the world that doesn't have any personality, while I already have some sort of personality and I'm a different thing from the world. Maybe there are a lot of people like me, but mainly we have the world that doesn't have any personality and I do. This is the age of 3. The age of 13, 12, this is the age where we in biological system have the possibility not only to take life, but also to give life. So we're moving to another stage. The age of 40 is the age where we have enough brain, I will say, we gathered enough knowledge to start to live in a way that we are living life, not only trying to accept things inside life. So those are the ages that the oral Bible is speaking about. And what is happening when Abraham is going out from this cave, if it's in age 3, 13, or 40, okay? What is happening is that he's going outside and he's saying to himself, who is controlling this world? Very nice world. I see here a world where the sun is going in the morning and it's controlling this world. It's giving heat, it's giving life, it's doing the photosynthesis, it's doing a lot of things. So maybe I need to pray to the sun. But what happened at night? The sun went sunset. And then he saw the moon with the stars. He said to himself, so the moon have much more power than the sun. You can see it controlled, it overawed, it moved the sun away and it went up instead of the sun. So maybe I need to worship the moon and the stars. But in the morning, the sun came again. So he said to himself, so this is not controlling and this is not controlling, it's only some sort of a routine. Let's continue on. Maybe it's who it could be. And this is where Abraham started to acknowledge that there is also God who is controlling everything here. Now, the stories are much more, I will say, colorful, if I will say it like that, with much more details. Because one of the things that's happening here is that after Abraham, remember that the first story I said that Abraham broke a lot of idolatries. So his father, Terach, took him to Nimrod, this main king, okay? And he said to him, listen, I can't control this, my son. And he's breaking all of the idolatries and also your statues he's breaking down. So do with him whatever you want to do. I don't know what to do with him, in this way, I don't know what to do. And then there's a very interesting discussion between Nimrod, the king of those days, and we spoke about Nimrod 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago, was an almighty king that did a lot of things against God, and Abraham, while Nimrod is saying to Abraham, on what God do you believe? And Abraham is answering him, I believe in God who created the heaven and earth. And Nimrod says to him, no, sorry. In the beginning, Abraham is answering him, I believe in God. I believe in God who created heaven and earth. So Nimrod says to him, but I believe on the God who created the fire. So Abraham is saying to him, why do you believe in the fire? Maybe let's worship the water who is managing to shut down the fire. So Nimrod said to him, you know what, let's worship the water. So he said to him, so let's worship the clouds who are moving the water from one side to another side in this world. So Nimrod said to him, you know what, so let's worship the clouds. So Abraham said to him, but the clouds also are being moved from one side to another side of the world with the wind. So let's worship the wind. Nimrod thought for a moment and said to him, you know what, let's worship the wind. Abraham said to him, but the wind is not so strong because men can stand on top of the mountain. The wind will come and men will stay still. So let's worship men. Nimrod thought for a moment and said, right, so let's worship men, let's worship me. So Abraham said to him, but if I will take a man and I will put him inside the fire, he will get burned. So let's worship the fire. Nimrod thought for a moment and said to him, you know what, you are just playing with me, Abraham. And I worship the fire. I will throw you inside the fire. And if you believe in God who created this, everything in this universe, he will take you out. And if he will manage to take you out, fine. And if not, you will die. That's it. And this is what is written down here. If you will see in the verse, please read verse number 28. We need to explain it.
28. And Haran died during the lifetime of Terah, his father, in the land of his birth, in the Ur of Chaldees.
Okay, so we need to explain this. Suddenly, after we're saying that Terah is bringing the kids of Abraham, Nahor, and Haran, and suddenly we're saying that Haran died during the lifetime of Terah. What happened there, that Abraham was being thrown down to the Ur Kasdim, just to realize this word, in Hebrew, Ur Kasdim is the place where you're burning the fire very, very hard, very, very hot. This is Ur Kasdim. Ur is a fire. The word Ur is fire. Okay, this is the word Ur. See that? In Hebrew, it's fire. And Kasdim is where you're staying only with the dust after the fire. Okay? And what happened there is that Abraham was being thrown down to the Ur Kasdim, to the fire. And God saved him from there. In a moment, I will show you in another verse where it says specifically, it's written down in a hint, but it's very, very clear now, okay, that God took him out from this fire. And Haran was there. And they asked him about Haran. Everybody asked Haran, you with Abraham or you with Nimrod? And he saw that Abraham was being saved. So he said, I'm with Abraham. So he was thrown down, but he didn't really believe in God. So God didn't save him. So he died during the lifetime of Terah, his father. I will show you this also in another look for a moment, okay, in chapter 15. No, I will start with chapter 11, okay, 14. In chapter 14, we see something very, very unique. And the uniqueness is that we have the First World War that is written down in the Bible, okay? We have 4 kings against 5 kings. And who are the 4 and the 5? The only thing I want to show here, we can go inside to this, but we'll be there, not far from time from now. But we have one of the kings here. Now it came to pass in the days of Amraphel. Who is Amraphel? What is Amraphel? In Hebrew, Amraphel, it's 2 words. Amar, he said, Paul, go down. What is go down? So let's see for a moment, Rashi, just to see it. come on, show me what. Okay. Look, please read. Who is Amraphel?
Amraphel, this is Nimrod, who said to Abraham, fall into the fiery furnace.
That's
and
it.
It cites where it's from.
Okay. So we see now it's starting to get it's logically, because they are doing a fight against the settlement, okay, the Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, who is in Sodom and Gomorrah? Lot. His face is similar to the face of Abraham. So we know that there is one person in this world who is chasing against Abraham, who managed to disobey him. He threw him to this place of all of this fire, and he managed to go out. So there's one person that Nimrod is chasing all over the world to find him. Suddenly he's hearing that there's someone very similarity to Abraham in Sodom and Gomorrah. So he's doing a fight there because he wants to catch him. And he's catching Lot. But Lot is not Abraham. He's only very similar to Abraham. But let's go to another verse. Very interesting verse that is written down. Again, it's all hidden inside, but it's not it's not written very clear like it's written down. It's by Moses. Please read verse number 7.
7, and he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you forth from Ur of the Chaldees to give you this land to inherit it.
Starting to realize something here is happening. I took you out from the fire, okay, of the Chaldees, where they threw you there, and I took you out. Now, why exactly I took you out? Because not like everybody else, and maybe it's because he was in a cave for some sort of a time. Abraham had, I will say, a straight mind with a connection with God. Abraham didn't have all the complicity, all the wrong ideas and the wrong things that the rest of his generation had with a connection with Nimrod and with a disconnection with God. And this is starting to explain to us why God is saying to Abraham, go out from this place and I will make you into a great nation, and I'm going to bless you, and all those who are going to be connected with you are going to be blessed, and those who are going to curse you are going to be cursed. And you're getting a lot of promises, because he's already 75 years old and he's already doing a lot of things. By the way, it's also hidden down here. Please read verse number 5.
5. And Abraham took Sarah his wife and Lot his brother's son and all their possessions that they had acquired and the souls that they had acquired in Haran. And they went to go to the land of Canaan, and they came to the land of Canaan.
There is one small question that I have here with the word, the souls they had acquired in Haran. It's in Hebrew, it says, Hanefesh asher asu b'Haran. They did them. Here, acquired, it's a bit a different word than doing them. And our sages are saying you can't create even not a mosquito and to put inside to him the soul. How can you do a lot of souls, in Haran? So look for a moment what Rashi is explaining here about this thing.
And the souls they had acquired in Haran, whom he had brought under the wings of the Shekinah. Abraham would convert the men, and Sarah would convert the women. And Scripture ascribes to them a merit as if they had made them, from Genesis Rabbah.
That's it. And this is the source. Okay, like they had made them, because they rebuilt them back, okay, with the right, I will say, mindset. So we see already that Abraham did something in his life. He's already 75 years old, and he did something in the right way. It's not that he is getting these blessings without, out of the blue, from nowhere. We have something there that is hidden in a very small hints inside the scripture, and we need to acknowledge that And there's another very important point that I will mention only next week. I can't mention it now because I want you, first of all, to build up the right concept with Abraham, and then I will show you how much the scripture, how much the Bible is hiding things, so we will have the right, I will say, approach to Abraham and not the wrong one. This is more or less the main things I wanted to say about Abraham. This is one of the first lessons, I think, that I spoke almost only showing hints from the scripture, from the verses, and I really used a lot from the oral Bible that we have, and it's not things that are written down, in very a lot of words outside, but we need to understand what is happening here and what is coming to teach us. Questions or things that you want to say till now?
Rabbi, that's beautiful. I mean, I've done a lot of study around the ancient Sumerian culture, the Akkadian rise of King Sargon, and followed the lineages and tried to track exactly, the times of Abraham. And I think what you brought out today, really seemed together a lot of questions. I mean, I've talked to people like Dr. David Rahl of the UK, who's quite a profound scholar. Just trying to track everything. I mean, what you brought out today does lay a lot about the setting and the time frame, because if you read it just plain, like the Ur of the Chaldees, and you're thinking the city of Ur, and you're thinking the land of the Chaldeans, the Chaldean Empire didn't exist for 1,000 years almost after Abraham's time, and the city of Ur was really decimated and desolated, and there was a vast exodus out of that area right around the time period. It's just trying to pinpoint it within a few decades. It's hard to do, but really what you brought out today is the liveliness of the Torah in it.
I will say another one small note that we will see that we have the last Hebrew people. First of all, thank you, Dan, for those notes. It's important. But I want to add one more point that I didn't say before. We see that the Hebrew people are being thrown to the fire, okay? Not only in the last century, like we saw almost 100 years ago in the German in the German
concentration
camps and everything else. Already 4,000 years ago, with Abraham time, they were thrown out to the inside to the fire. Since then, the Hebrew people are being thrown out to the fire because what they believe, and it's not the main beliefs that everybody else. So this is also a very interesting point to notice. So I wanted to mention that. I agree with you, Dan, that it's an interesting situation and everything else. There's a question here about Travis. I'm not 100% sure that I quoted. There are a few words about fire, and to explain it in all sorts of ways. By the way, in Hebrew, every word have different, I will say, different, not only explanation, but different understanding, okay? But the word Isha or Esh, this is one word of fire, and the word Ur is another word of fire. So this is more or less, we find the word Esh in other places also in the Bible, not only in Zechariah, but it's different words of the word fire.
I was just, my main question there is there a difference in intensity of the fire as according to how the word is used and the purpose of the fire?
There are 6 different fires in the explanation and different tenses for each one of them. I won't go inside of this now.
Okay. It's very deep. I just was wondering if there was maybe something that we could just drag out real easy on it. So nothing's easy.
I will say only that if we look, I think we said it more than once, but we can mention this again. The words woman and man in Hebrew is Ish and Isha. Okay, so both of them have the fire inside, and also each one of them is giving another letter of the name of God. And this is what our sages are saying. When they have peace one with each other. So this is where they have the Shekhinah, they have God inside them. And if they don't have peace one with each other, okay, so they have fire between them. And it's like a fire between the both of them. So, but this is and it's true. This is, and the way to know that is if you're thinking for yourself or you're thinking for the other one. If you're thinking for the other one, this is where you're putting the Shekhinah inside. If you're thinking for yourself, this is where you will put a lot of fire inside. But this is something that I think we mentioned more than once. But to start to go inside to all of the depth and the profound understanding of the fire and the 6 fires that they are, and the connection with the Shekhinah and the connection with the Mount Temple and all of those things, this is not for now. Okay?
Yeah, I thank you for a little history, because we don't get a lot of history of the patriarchs out here, and I believe it strengthens our emunah quite a bit to know the truth and the history behind it. I've read the book of Jasher a couple of times, and this story is in it, and it's just phenomenal how it elevated my soul to know that there is history behind everything, and we just don't get it all.
It's true. This is true. Michaela, yeah, okay, thank you. Michaela, good to see you from Italy. I think that you said that you won't be tonight. Yeah, good to see you. You managed. Fine. Can you explain your question, please?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Yes, I do hear sometimes people interpret, let's say, the work Abraham did with the non-Jewish souls that he met, that he actually set up a new category of souls in this world. And these souls would be Jewish souls, not by blood lineage, but by spiritual lineage in some sort. I don't know if you got my point.
You said a good point, and this is one of the things that one of the reasons why we're saying to people when they want to build up communities, to build them into, they can name them, okay, the tent of Abraham house, and things like that. Abraham basically brought to this world the understanding of one God, and that we are all could live together. And this is also what's written down in the verses that we read. Okay, all the nations. We need to understand. We didn't went inside to this tonight, but we need to understand exactly what is these blessings in Hebrew. What exactly its meaning in Hebrew. But Abraham was, I will say, the patriarch who brought to this world the understanding that we can all be under the one umbrella, and the umbrella is Abraham. And this is why he is, I will say, the main leader of the all nations, or of the people who want to come and to join the Hebrew people. After that, we're starting to narrow ourselves a bit more. You know, there's Isaac and Ishmael, but only Isaac is staying, and then there's Jacob and Esau from the other side, and also only Jacob is staying. So Abraham was the main one, and we can see this also in this verse where he brought a lot of souls with him. Okay, so this is what we're saying today also, that a lot of people can refer themselves under the umbrella of Abraham.
Beautiful.
Okay, so, but they are not considered to be, let's say, B'nai Abraham in any way, right?
No. To become, the son of Abraham in the full way, you need to convert. And
exactly.
We spoke about this more than once.
Okay.
The Noach had a bigger mission. Okay, I will say this. We spoke about this a few times, so I will say it in front of everybody. Okay, when you translating the Brit Shalom to Italy, okay, thank you very much. So then we will manage to bring it to 64 million people. That you will manage, you with your friends there in Italy, will manage to spread the word around much better than me or anyone else in the Jewish community. So you have a bigger mission than what I have here. My mission is to have the flame with a few Italian people, and you have a mission to spread it over to all of the Italian national land and everything else. And the same thing with the Filipinos, and the same thing with the England side and everything else. So you have a bigger mission, not you don't need to convert. People are really
okay. This is very clear.
fine.
Okay, great. Just one more thing, if I may. Okay,
Yes,
there are people though no hides, who have this who feel this deep connection with the Hebrew people. Okay, so I suppose there are some interpretations or reliable interpretations regarding this spiritual connection, I would say, in a sense.
You're right. I think that mainly today, it's more that people are feeling that this is I will say, the continuous of the history of the world this way. And people are getting related to that. And this is where the
We had Rabbi freeze. I don't know what to say. It could be his stream there in Jerusalem.
Okay, the blessings are coming from the Hebrew people, and people today with the redemption. Can you hear me? Yes.
We got you now, Rabbi.
People today with the redemption of the Hebrew people that came from the ashes, from the Ur Kasdim, from the ashes of the Germany and what happened 80 years ago. People are saying, this is it, this is it. They know how to read the Bible and everything else. And people are getting more and more connected to this thing. And this is why people are feeling spirituality connected with this nation. This is more or less, if you're asking me, what I see. Now, there is a lot of explanations, and I'm getting all the time explanations, okay? In the last few weeks, someone from Germany gave me a very long explanation how come the Christian world, finished its role or something like that. And I have also from Lithuania, professors in the universities there who gave me a very long essay to explain to me a lot of things like that. We're getting it from all sorts of places. Now, we're very careful because we have no intention of fights against others. But we do have to say what we have and what we are believing in. And people are getting, related to the truth. This is what I think.
Might this be the call for the 10 from the nations to grab the hem of a Jew and come, because we know that you walk with the one true God? Because if it is truly the time of Mashiach, the footprint of Mashiach, we've got to prepare. And there was a call that went out, I believe, for us to come. And I believe that's who we are, or the first to accept the call and to come. That's just me. Now, that's what I'm seeing and how I feel spiritually about it, and try to emulate Abraham every day, because we're supposed to become with y'all, right? And we say 10 and we don't take it literally, but there's 4 corners of the hem and there are 70 nations. So when you multiply it, it's 2,800 people per righteous Jew. That's a lot of people coming. So you've got to prepare us. We got a lot of people to bring, right?
I'm getting embarrassed here, It's too much for me. Maybe Lee is more comfortable with this. Fine.
No, you're right. There was a call, Travis. It was a Zoom call, and you're on it. So you're doing the right
thing. Fine.
Rabbi, I had a technical question, and then a slightly maybe a question that requires a little bit more expanding. You said that the name Terach hints at ratach, like causing a god to boil, his blood to boil, to become angry. But terach, ratach, it's a different order. Terach, it might be like reach, like smell, right? Terach, rather than ratach. So how does this work out?
First of all of the thing of idolatry. Okay, it's more related to things that are related to honor and to a bit more spirituality, I would say. Now, if you're asking about the 5 senses, the most spiritual sense is the smell sense. Okay, I don't know if you thought about this, But the most spiritual sense is the smell one. Even the ear, even to hear something, we know that it's a more with a wave of the, how do you call it, the wave of the sound.
Sound wave, yeah.
But the smell is the only thing that is related to something very spiritual. Therefore, when you're speaking about idolatry and other things, you're speaking about the spiritual side. This is why it's a bit connected also to the smell side. But there is a way how to do tmurot la'otiyot, okay? How to change the words. It's not only what we do from ourselves, but it's also what we got from the heritage of the sages of the Hebrew people. And there is a lot of books about this. What exactly is the tmurot and everything else? This, what I said, terach sheyirtiach, it's something that is written down in the Midrash. Okay? As I said, I probably need to go around 9 o'clock. I'm passing it to you, Lee. The only thing I must say that tonight we need to finish. You need to finish. I will put you as the master of the class. Okay? How do you call it? But at 9:25 you need to close the class today. Okay? So now you are going to be the host.
One more question. Isn't there writing that Messiah will smell the soul when we enter and not see the person or hear the person, because we can be deceived that way, but through smell we cannot be deceived? Again,
you're saying great, Travis, but this is exactly the situation where it's going to be so spiritual level. So already with the smell, you will manage to define people, because we're going to go to the much higher level than just the other senses. Exactly.
Beautiful.
My other question, Rabbi, it might require a little bit more explanation. So maybe we'll do it at the end or at another time. But it's a general question about Abraham. You could say to a degree also about David, about some of the main figures in Tanakh. But specifically with regards to Abraham, why this tradition that you're passing down, you received orally and passing on orally, was not written into the text? Why this context is not important to be written down? Why, right? It's like, okay, you come to the text, and the text is assuming you already have this tradition.
This is a great question. It's related to a very important principle of the way that the Bible was given to the Hebrew people. And it was given down with two, realms. One is open to all of the nations, and the other one is closed only to the Hebrew people, until the time of the Messiah, until the times that we have today. Okay, this is being called the fourth revolution. Now, you know, in the inside part of the Hebrew nation, that there was also a time that only men were supposed to learn Torah. I will say the part of the oral Bible, and women were excluded from this part. Were not supposed to learn this part, and it's also written down in the Mishnah. This thing, okay, that you're not allowed. So we're speaking about four revolutions. The first one was that they started to write down the oral Torah. This is where they started 2,500 years ago already to start to write the Mishnah. The second revolution is that they also gave it or started to teach it also to the women, not only to the men's side, but also to women. And now we're speaking about the revolution that we also opening all the inside things to the whole nations, to all nations. Now, why it's working like that and all those steps and how it's getting exposed or explode in the world, this is, we can decide that we want to learn this once. Okay, it's very profound understanding how God is revealing himself in this world with the timing of things. Not everything is being accepted in the right time, or it might be that if you will say things not in the right time, you might lose. I will give a small example. We all know that the world is, the planet is like a ball, a basketball, okay? Now, they only managed to figure this out 400 years ago with Copernicus, okay? Now, before he died, he said it, and and it was against the church and everything else.
They thought of flat Earth, yeah.
Now, the old Greece, already the smart people from the old Greece, they had a lot of calculations, and they showed how the world is like a basket. It's like a ball. Now, the masses of people didn't knew that, and there's a reason why it's being revealed only 400 years ago. Or you know what? I will take a very simple example. Today we know how to build a nuclear bomb. Think about this, that in the barbarian time, of the time of the old Romans, okay, 2,000 years ago, they knew also how to have a nuclear bomb. You know what could have happened in this world? So there's also stages where things are being explored, things are being open to the masses, open to the, to the human being. And we need to learn exactly why God did it in this way. It's a different lesson. It's a very profound lesson that we need to take a time once and to speak about this.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi Chaim. If nobody has any other questions for Rabbi Chaim, he has a few more minutes with us. So yeah, please, Anna.
Rabbi, I was wondering if you are using, if we are allowed to read the book of Yasher, because when I read the book of Yasher, seen another story of Abraham, like he was in yeshiva with Shem and Noah during those times when in his younger years, and I was calculating when Abraham was born, Shem was only 390 years old, and Noah was 890 years old. And then that's the reason why he was giving the 10% during the Sodom war to Melchizedek, because Melchizedek was his rabbi. How are we in it?
Rabbi Goldberg, I had a big talk with Rabbi Carmi Ingber on the Sefer HaYasser. Long story, but there is a fraudulent version out there. You need to understand that there is a fraudulent dark age version that just doesn't exist or doesn't actually, in fact, have links to the Sefer HaYasher that is spoken about by King David during Saul's burial and mentioned by Joshua. Right? That's where you're getting the book of Jasher from, right?
Now, first of all, it's true that there is a frog. I will say, as you said, there is a frog book and there is a real book, and you need to read the real one. So I'm saying to you, go to Sefaria. I think that Lee more than once showed you the Sefaria. I personally met the people in Los Angeles who put this on the internet, all those books and everything else, and go to Sefaria, to the Sefaria
website.
Link. There you will find the real one, and this you can read. It's good to read. I took out also another book. There's another book that someone did, one Jewish person did, very important person. He did it when he was captured in the jail of the Russian in the time that there was, the Russian in the KGB and all of those things before the Berlin wall fell down. Right?
Soviet Union.
The old people here knows about this thing. I remember the night that it fell down. I remember that thing. It was an interesting thing. And one of the things that he's doing here is showing here all the. It will be hard to see, I think. He's showing. You see. He's showing here all the
Lineage.
the timing, the age of each one of the people that was living until when and who saw who. And you're right, Abraham saw Noah, Abraham saw Shem, Abraham saw Arpachshad, Abraham saw almost all the 10 generations before him, Abraham saw them. And therefore, Abraham got from them a lot of things. But all of those things that he got were after also he had some sort of a natural understanding. And the natural understanding was the beginning. And after that, he also got from them a lot of inheritance of things that they gave him.
I have a little prophetic revelation that came to me when I read the book of Jasher that I used, and I don't know if it's right or not, so I'm going to bring it up so you can answer it. But it said that Abraham was born in the year from creation, 1948, which I found was very prophetic, that Israel was restored in 1948 of the common.
The 1948 of the rebuild of the redemption of the Hebrew nation is related to the date that the count of Jesus. It's even more profound to see the relations between Abraham, David, and the redemption of the Hebrew nation. But this, I won't go inside to this now. Unfortunately, I need to move out from from this. Okay, unfortunately, I need to go out now, and I'm giving Lee is going to lead. Lee is going to lead. Again, Lee, we need to close today at 9:25. Okay, and I'm sorry that I can't stay with you now, all of you. Good to see you all. Have a blessing week and
blessings, Rabbi.
Shalom. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov. Dan, just a quick question.
Yes,
I see here when Rabbi Chaim made me the host in Zoom, it says recording paused. Does this mean I need to resume the recording?
No, I'm capturing everything and I'm broadcasting it with the broadcast skins to everybody over the social media. So you just go to town. I haven't given you a custom broadcast skin yet. So you've been getting a full screen once you start to share. So.
Okay, no worries. It's always good to have you guys back up, Dan. Thanks. So Shavua Tov, everybody. Not sure if anybody was participating in the Purim celebrations. I got some nice messages from you all. So thanks a lot. And I hope you're all doing well. Okay, just to recap where we're holding in Brit Shalom, Daily Living for Noahides. We've covered the foundation, fundamental principles. First section I labeled man's relationship with God. And the second section here, as you can see, a lot of practical lessons for daily life between man and his fellow. We covered last time, we finally finished up the preservation of human life. And we're moving on now into okay, so chapter 6 here, as we said in the past, urge you all to grab either a physical or digital copy. It'll really help with our learning, and you can also read up beforehand and afterwards, and fire away with your awesome questions. Okay, we start off with some verses, mostly from Genesis. Okay, it says as follows: "And God created man in His image." Actually, you know what, Dan? You want to read with your powerful, charismatic voice?
If you'd like, start right at the beginning there. And God created man in His image?
Yep.
God created man in His image. In the image of God, He created him, male and female, He created them. And God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it." Genesis 1:27 and 28.
Yep, go ahead.
And the man said, "This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This shall be called woman, for from man she was taken. Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and cling to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Genesis 2:23 and 24. And man called his wife's name Eve because she had become the mother of all living in Genesis 3:20.
Awesome, thanks, Dan. So laying the groundwork for some of the general principles behind the family unit. Okay, being fruitful and multiplying and filling the earth and subduing it. Okay, bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, becoming one flesh. We'll dig into some of these concepts. One point that I heard from Rabbi Cherki in his commentary on, he has audio classes on all of the Torah, but in the portion of Genesis, so he talks about the relationship between Adam and Chava, Adam and Chava. I don't know how the name Chava is translated into English, but in any event, man and the first man and wife. So when he's dissecting there the verses about how a woman was created, when man was put into a deep sleep and woman was taken from his side, etc. So from the verses, he lifts out the lesson that the ideal relationship between man and wife is that. So just for the background, she's made of mostly flesh and some bone, and he's made of mostly bone and some flesh. Okay, and I'll rely on my having heard the classes. And he says that, what do we learn out from this? What we learn out from this, that she's bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, that he sees or he gets from her what is missing in him. Okay, since he is mostly bone, and there he explains that bone is structure. It's giving order to life. It's moving from A to B, things that are much more calculated. This is what bone symbolizes, and flesh is giving life to the structure. Things that are much more either emotional in nature or connecting between people. These are kind of the archetypes for man and woman, for the man soul and the male soul and the female soul. So if he's mostly bone, he's mostly order, and he's just a little bit of flesh. So he's looking for her, in her for what is lacking in him, and she is looking in him for what is lacking in her. Again, and this is the, if you will, the give and take, the back and forth between man and wife. There is an interesting commentary on what it means to become one flesh. So the simple meaning, okay, man clings to his wife, they build a family unit. He and she go away from their parents' house and build an independent unit. There's also much to be said about husband and wife creating their own customs, taking obviously the good, from their parents' homes, and nevertheless creating an independent value system that they want to pass down to their children. Okay, this is the kind of the simple explanation of the verse. Rashi here adds, if you want, Dan, you can go ahead and read here in the commentary on Rashi.
One flesh, the fetus is formed by both of them, and there, in the child, their flesh becomes one.
Okay, so on a deeper level, the child is the one flesh, right? The two of them fuse, or as our sages teach, there are three partners in the creation of a human being: mother, father, and God. So this is the one flesh that comes out of their union, and it's true that husband and wife bonding and creating a home based on a shared value system and shared goals is essential. But that really comes to fruition. That is, if you will, the fruit of the labor when children are involved. That's when you're putting everything into action, and far more into action, and when people's true character comes to light. Okay, and the emphasis on being fruitful and multiplying. Okay, where Rabbi Cherki explains being fruitful is in quality, multiplying in quantity, and this being the pretext for filling the earth and subduing it. And as we said in previous chapters, filling the earth and subduing it, this is using the land, using all the tools that God has given us to make the world a dwelling place for God, right? Making the world a dwelling place for God's will, manifesting God's will in the world.
Lee, can I ask a question or raise a point?
Please.
The second paragraph you've got there, the man said, This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. The phrase, this at last, and a lot of English versions say this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. That at last is an integral statement, even in the Hebrew notion, just to give context. And I've tried to, and I've not got a legitimate response from any rabbis on this phrase. And my point has always been that with that phrase, this at last is, or this now is a precursor of condition, bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. And my point is that historically, it's always been a bone graft, creating something unique. Okay, rather than just the formation of a new being.
What is a graft?
A graft. If you've ever seen somebody get a skin graft because they were burned, right? They've put a new graft of skin over. Sometimes bones are grafted. Sometimes many things are grafted in. Text does read that they opened the flesh up of the man, removed a rib, okay, and formed, or out of the rib made the woman. It's not, the context is not necessarily the rib became a woman, but that the out of the rib was, or the rib was formed into a woman, more or less in the texture. My point is to give it a factual historical narrative, but that phrase in Hebrew is there. This at last is. In other words, there was a state prior where it was not. Bone of his bones and flesh of his flesh. In other words, there's something tangible that actually went on historically and archaeologically that doesn't require the metaphysical or mystical, though I realize I've detracted from the whole point of procreation. It's to give the atheist the reality that there is something to this storyline that's deeper and take them forward.
So
I realize that, a lot of people don't want to go down
your questions are always colorful, and your narration always adds a lot of character to the classes. So thank you a lot, Dan, and thank you for hosting me. You obviously have a very lofty soul, because our sages expand specifically on this verse. They read into this verse that the verse or the wording here appears superfluous. It appears extra. The verse could read without it, and so it doesn't detract at all. There was a second point that I wanted to make. Let's just take a look inside the verses. I think it's a little bit further up. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, even that verse says this time.
Right. We'll talk about what it means this time. Right here in the Chabad, they say, right, you can just read it here from the Hebrew. It says, Vayomer ha'adam zot hapa'am. Right. So this time. And if you read it as, this time, I'm like, if I just say to you, this time it'll be okay. It means there was a previous time. Right. That's the subtext.
Logic.
This time it'll be fine, which means that there was a previous time. Okay, so if you read it that way, as you can see here, this is one teaching. If to understand what that means, that Adam came to all the animals and the beasts. Another teaching, we'll just continue here, and then I'll go to the other point about the rib. That would just don't let me forget. The other teaching that Rabbi Cherki brings in his classes is that there was a previous relationship. The previous relationship was of a much more physical nature, and it didn't bring into fruition what the bond between husband and wife is meant to.
I see.
Right, which is elevating the physical into the spiritual, bringing God's will into one of the most physical acts of humanity. So the other minor point is about the side or the ribs. So there's a famous comment here from Rashi on the verse. Okay, and here's the sleep, the deep sleep. that that God put man into. Okay, and man slept, and he took one of his sides. Okay, so the one of the readings, if you look here in the Hebrew, okay, vayapel Adonai Elohim tardema is this deep sleep al ha'adam vayishan, and he slept. Vayikach achat mitzalotav. Okay, tzalotav, the root there of the Hebrew is tzela. Okay, so tzela can actually be read in one of two ways. Tzela in modern colloquial Hebrew is rib. Okay, it's laot. These are the ribs that I have in as you just read. The other meaning, and which Rashi takes straight out of area in the Torah, talking about the Mishkan, talking about the tabernacle, he says here as follows: of his sides, mitzal otav. If you want to read here,
of his sides, like, and for the side of the tabernacle. This coincides with what the rabbis said. They were created with two faces. See also Reuven 18 in
from the Talmud. Okay, so the image here, if you will, is basically of some sort of androgynous creature that is half man, half woman. Or if they were created with two faces, it's thought that man and woman were actually created back to back.
Yeah.
The other key point, which again I'm taking from the audio classes of Rabbi Cherki on the Torah, is that the majority of commentators take this story. Obviously, there is a physical element that needs to be understood from this story, but largely the story of Genesis is understood in a metaphysical way. Okay, so it's true that
Rabbi Goldberg's been great at that, sharing that.
Fantastic. Okay, so if we're going to go start looking for, we have a tradition, of course, that there are four couples buried in the tomb of the matriarchs and the patriarchs in Hebron. One of the couples being Adam and Eve. But again, there is a physical element to this, but it's important to understand that
there's a bigger message. Sure.
Right. There's a bigger message
for sure.
Indeed. Okay, we have some flashing going on here, so let's see if we can open up this. Here we go. It's working. Okay, where can I find Rabbi Cherki's audio lessons on Torah? If you like, I can send the link. They're all in Hebrew, so it'd be great practice. But if you like, I could send the link. A question Travis asks, and the question now is about a teaching I had before that was almost half of Adam removed to make Chava, which makes them more equal. Right, so there is an element. Okay, it says in the plain verses that he will have authority over you, and your desire will be for him. So there's what to be said about the man-woman dynamic, the husband-wife dynamic. But may I ask a question? Of course, please feel free to ask questions as we're going along. If they're a little bit more philosophical or in nature, or they'll require more clarification, we'll probably hold them off to the end. And I see that we're already at 9:15, so if you'll all excuse me, I'll try to get actually to a little bit to the text. If we have time, then we'll come back. Okay, so just laying down some of the groundwork. Okay, so procreation. When the Holy One, blessed be He, created human beings, male and female, it was said, and God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. And so too, after the flood, He blessed Noah and his family, as it is written, and God blessed Noah and his sons, and He said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Okay, and what do you understand from, it's not just being fruitful and multiplying, there's a purpose to being fruitful and multiplying, as we said, in quality and also in quantity. It's to fill the earth and to subdue it. As Rabbi Cherki explains, because it is the will of God that the human species should increase in number in order to advance civilization. As the prophet said in Isaiah, He did not create it, meaning the world, to be a wasteland, but formed it for habitation. Okay, so it's also said about Abraham, as a verse I think I pulled up here. This is Bereshit, here's Vayera. Okay, it's said about Abraham here. This is the pretext to the discussion about Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, but speaking about Abraham, Dan, if you want to read here verses 18 and 19.
18, and Abraham will become a great and powerful nation, and all the nations of the world will be blessed in him. For I have known him because he commands his sons and his household after him, that they should keep the way of the Lord to perform righteousness and justice, in order that the Lord bring upon Abraham that which he spoke concerning him. Beautiful.
Okay, so there's much to be said about the integral role that the family unit plays in the Torah for Jews, for Gentiles, for Noahites, for Gentiles, the power of the family unit. Also for the individual working on his character traits, being a partner in creation, bringing life into the world, tremendous teachings personally, but it's also a vehicle. Okay, as we see here in verse 19 clearly, because he commands his sons and his household after him that they should keep the way of the Lord to perform righteousness and justice. Okay, so the family unit is a vehicle, and increasing all of humanity, increasing in quality and in quantity, is a vehicle for bringing God's will into the world. The more of us and the higher in quality, the more we do this. So, unfortunately, I hear some like secular Jewish couples say, there's a problem of overpopulation in the world, so like we're going to be the ones to volunteer. We're going to adopt a dog or something. I said, there's not that many Jews in the world that you need to be the one to volunteer. So the Torah has slightly different things to say. Okay, setting some of the backdrop. We'll speak. I'm just trying to keep track of time. Okay, 9:18. Love. Love between, I'm reading here number 1, love between a man and his wife is one of the highest expressions of both human and divine morality. It's brought here a verse, cites here a verse in Malachi, the closing of the prophets, the final prophet, where Malachi is, or I think is called in English Malachi, is bringing out all the ammunition against the corrupt priests, and the Israelites who are acting in a corrupt fashion, being unfaithful with their wives, taking non-Jewish wives, and you see this angers God. Okay, so it's not only something between man and his fellow; it's also inviting divine anger. Okay, so there's the human aspect, there's the man and fellow aspect to marital harmony, and there's a divine element to it as well, as Rabbi Chaim touched upon earlier. The essence of the principle to love your fellow as yourself is a verse we've come back to many times, as we've also mentioned. Rabbi Akiva says this is a fundamental principle of the Torah. Okay, so the essence of the principle to love your fellow as yourself manifests in a married couple. And the citation here is from the Talmud in Kedushin, talking about marital contract, talking about some of the obligations, man to wife and wife to man. But some of the context here is talking about avoiding things that would let one partner see, would let man see his wife or wife see her husband in an unfavorable light. Okay, one of the examples brought in Jewish law, I'm not sure if it's practically speaking, if it's applicable to Noahides, but there's something to be learned from it. Okay, so in Jewish law it says that when man and wife are together physically, okay, so it should be done in the dark. Why should it be done in the dark? So that neither of the partners should see something unfavorable. Not everybody's whatever. You might have like some sort of hit or whatever, or something that's on your skin that would look unfavorable in the other person's eyes. But generally speaking, I don't know. Some person, your spouse is cleaning his nose exactly at that time, or he's a little bit, something that could allow the spouse to view. Each of the sides to view the other in an unfavorable light. So avoiding this, because you wouldn't want them to see you like this. I don't know. You wake up, you're having a bad hair day or bad skin day or something. Okay, so do things to. This is bringing in the essence of love thy neighbor as thyself, as we said previously, where it's learned. It's taught by Hillel, the elder. To avoid things that are hateful to you, to avoid doing things to your fellow that are hateful to you. Okay, so Lara asks a question, but I'm sorry, we'll try to fly through, and if we have time for a couple of questions at the end, we'll get back to it. The most desirable way for facilitating the marriage bond is through a public ceremony, such as traditional betrothal and sanctification under a chuppah or a canopy. This bond becomes obligatory and is validated absolutely after consummation of the marriage. It's brought here in the footnote that this is not obligatory for Noahides, but it's Noahides are permitted to take part in this. It's a wonderful thing. I've seen videos of this. It's a wonderful thing to celebrate. Just anecdotally, Rabbi Cherki explains from in the name of his rabbi, Rabbi Ashkenazi, that everybody's happy when bride and groom are under the canopy. He explains one of the reasons being that this is one of the moments in life where it's very clear that like the physical inclination and the more spiritual inclination really want the same thing at the end of the day. As our sages teach, a person should use both his spiritual and his physical, or if you will, his good and his evil inclinations to do the will of God. And one of the essential ways that this comes into play is through marriage. Okay, 4 and 5, and I'll mention another point. 4, a man and a woman who have love between them, as well as trust and mutual respect, are found favorable and are beloved by the Creator. Okay, Rabbi Chaim mentioned this previously. I'll try to do it quickly, but basically he was talking about this point. He kind of stole my thunder, but never mind. I'll give you the more visual presentation of the same point. Okay, so our sages teach that when man and wife have merits, okay, so they have divine assistance at home. It says the Shekhinah, right? It literally says the teaching of our sages is that the Shekhinah is amongst them, that they have divine assistance in their home. Okay, and when they don't, when they don't have merits, okay, so like basically fire eats them up. There's a marital disharmony. Okay, so one of the cute ways that I saw this taught out, it's a nice visual way of remembering the teaching. Okay, so you have here the word ish is man in Hebrew, isha for woman. Okay, and you can see there's a lot of letters that are in common. Okay, and as Rabbi Chaim mentioned previously, because if we just turn this to red, okay, so we have the letters here when man and wife have merit. Okay, they bring, so to speak, they bring God into their bond. Okay, so you see here the letters spelling one of the names of God, right? Yud and Hey, one of the names of God. Okay, so this symbolizes that point. And when they don't have harmony, okay, so Ish, right? They remove the divine presence from amongst them, and what's left is fire.
Wow.
Okay. And finally, it's especially appropriate to invest time in nurturing the love between husband and wife in the first year of marriage. It's taken straight out of, I think it's Deuteronomy. And it's talking there about going out to war, etc. But in any event, I think this is relevant all the time. One of my rabbis here in my neighborhood, he sends out like weekly messages about kind of sprucing up marital harmony, talking about setting aside time if it's once a week. The way he talked about it was there should be a conversation between husband and wife, let's say 10, 15 minutes, a couple nights a week. And then once a month, let's say once every month, 2 months, there should be, an hour or two if it's going out, if it's just sitting down, learning something together, doing something special together. Really important to set that time aside because, as we all know, time passes. There's a lot of things to do individually and together. And time flies. This is one of the top priorities, and it requires homework to keep it that way. I'll just mention parenthetically, Rabbi Cherki doesn't really talk about it here. I see I'm already at 9:26. So that's the last thing. He doesn't really talk here about dating. Some of the pretext that we mentioned here is using the marital bond and using the family unit as a vehicle for personal growth, and also using also a vehicle for bringing God's will into the world. We didn't talk a lot about dating leading up to marriage. Okay, so one of the things that took me by surprise. It was very refreshing actually to see. I was coming from a secular background where dating is kind of, are we having fun together? Let's try living together. Let's see if we have a physical chemistry, whatever kind of chemistry. Do we enjoy doing stuff together? Things that are nice, but things that are very much like on the surface. I'm coming to a more traditional approach. And not even necessarily like orthodox and having to do with strict keeping of the Jewish law, but even people who are slightly more in the traditional camp. Dating is true. There has to be chemistry. You have to enjoy time together. You have to have what to talk about, but it's much more goal oriented. Are we compatible? Do we want the same things down the road? If you wake up one day and you're married and there's a kid along the way already, and you find out that she wants a totally different, she wants a far more physically oriented life, and you want a more spiritually oriented life, and you didn't really talk about that going along, it's you're in for a lot of hard work. So far more goal oriented, value oriented approach to dating, and then as soon as it's clear that those underpinnings are compatible, great, there's more to work on. And as soon as it's not, okay, so we say, peace be upon you, and we each go our separate ways.
Well, Lee, I've got to sign off because I have to get ready for another class myself soon. Is that okay if I sign out on social media?
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, there you have it. Hopefully we'll be back next week with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg and Lee Fogel sharing more out of Brit Shalom. I think he left it at a dating point. Hopefully he'll start back there next week and you'll join us. So until then, folks, have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Thanks.
Shalom, Lee. I have to go also.